Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Deal Scout. On today's episode, we're going to have a conversation, a comeback king, a guy who's been on our shows many times. I met him in Orlando years ago when I lived there. We've maintained relationship, and I just wanted to hear what's going on in his world with his business, and maybe learn a little bit about the world of notes. So, Brett, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to see you again. As
Yeah,
always, you're only
as
an hour
always.
and a half, hour and a half north, but yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you ever come to Orlando anymore?
You know, I have family there, but it seems like even though it's only an hour and a half, it's so hard when I have a 10-year-old, 6-year-old, and 3-year-old, getting them all in a car and driving an hour and a half. Like I'd rather like pull my nails out. I don't know if you experience that
Get
with
it?
your kids, but it's tough. But maybe once a quarter. Is that's a good answer, right?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I mean, honestly, I haven't been up. I've been trying to been wanting to take my kids up to Gainesville, and I don't know why I haven't. Like it's not that far. Like it's just one of those things I just forget. The weekend comes and it's like, and I'm always like, oh, let's go to Devil's Den. I'm like, yeah, right. We're not getting in. You're not getting into that place. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Brett, you have a company. Tell us about your company because someone might not have heard your initial episode that we did probably like 2 years ago. Like, tell us
It's been a while.
what do you do?
So I run the marketing for a company called Paper Stack. Paper Stack's a place for people buy and sell debt. So it's mortgage debt, land debt. We have some commercial debt. We've even had business loans, a business debt, and now we're having private lending debt soon, and wraps, and so then lease options. So, but it's all debt. So it's all we started in the single family mortgage debt, and then we kind of stumbled into not stumbled in, they kind of just showed up. Like the land notes, they just showed up one day. And then I saw that those sold well. And so I went deep on that. Wraps, they just showed up one day. And now we're developing, they're like doing it now. The developers are out there doing like special stuff for wraps. Private lenders that kind of just they showed up one day and we have to develop something. We're in the process of developing something special for them where they don't have to pay a fee because they're private lenders and they have all their money in, so they don't want to pay a fee because it's their money or they wouldn't be making money. So we developed a new fee structure for them where the seller doesn't pay, buyer only pays a strip fee throughout the life of the loan. And then so commercial, same thing, just shows up. We sold a church. I didn't even know churches could sell, but yeah, churches could sell. And then also some kind of marijuana dispensary place, and yeah, it's right here in Orlando. I was like, wow, okay. And that's it. And we sold a business loan or two, but those are pretty rare. We're like business notes, and then the lease options are something they're starting to show up a little bit more. There's some guys out there that are really pushing like that, like sub two lease option type stuff. It
Mhm.
seems to be like a hotness right now, and so they showed up. I didn't know if we could do it, but we can. So like, all right, well there we go. There's a couple more markets, so it's expanding. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So buying and selling debt, right? The notes, from churches to pot shops to land to
Yeah.
business loans and wraps. You guys got in this primarily focused on residential, and you guys had a big mission and vision when you started this. I've been seeing your team build this from day one, and you guys have done some amazing things. So since inception, you were starting there, and it's evolved into different types of notes, different types of paper that you guys are buying and selling, right, for other people as a platform, as a marketplace. Doing this, like, give me some milestones of what you guys have accomplished since. When was your inception? Like 2016, 17?
I mean, we kind of like really launched, the two of the founders, Rick and TJ, had this idea for this when they were the note buyers, and they had kind of the inception idea came in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I came on like November 2014, and it wasn't even called Paper Stack. It was called Investment Note Exchange, and I thought that name was terrible because it was note and exchange. I was like, guys, EE. I was like, so if we were gonna get that wrong, note ends in an E, exchange starts with an E, and it's 26 characters long. And then so when we got our fourth founder, Mike, who was our head developer, we revamped it to Paper Stack. So that was 2015. That was like a May. And then we officially launched something in 2017, and immediately at the airport, we launched it at a conference at the airport. We're like, we got to rewrite it. And so we went back to the drawing board and still kept that one live, but it wasn't as, it was kind of small. And then 2018, we launched, and we've been using that same type of framework code base. It's actually going through its, geez, I'll be the third, fourth, like fourth iteration now, where they're developing the new UI and UX guys are developing like a more of an app like experience where it's gonna, you have the website looks like one thing. You can go to some, you'll notice if you're on some websites where it's like the website, the front facing thing looks completely different than the app. The app has an app look. So that's what they're doing now. So it's been fun. It's been years now, and gosh, almost, I think almost 7 or 8 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, good job. You guys, I mean, just a great founding team, really smart people. Rick's the note buying expert, right? Like this guy, Rick knows his jam, and TJ's the heart, like he's the guy who's thinking about all the, the people and such. Like, so you just have and then your brain on how to market things is just brilliant. I don't think I've ever met your developer, but just really good group of people. So good job in doing that. Give me some highlights on some of the things you guys have accomplished, over the past couple of years, because it's been a very unique market, and things are going weird. So what have you accomplished since our last interview?
I mean, we're up over 15 something thousand users now. We started a YouTube channel a number of years ago just because we started getting a lot of good questions. And I was like, why? Because I was like, why don't we just, instead of answering this question over and over again, let's just make a YouTube channel. And so we started that. We're up to like, I don't know, like 3,000 something. I mean, it's a smaller niche. We're no Mr. Beast, like my daughter put out a video of her and her freaking gecko and she got 9,000 views. I was like, God dang, I need a gecko. But like, it's like, so it's, but it teaches people. So, that's something else we've done. We've closed thousands of closings now. So, which is interesting. All the different debt instruments, we've hired a bigger team. So, I've got my team working, we've got design teams, UX guys, UI developers. And so, just recently this year, we released some AI features. So we have some AI, like, some one called CodeWriter, where it can actually rewrite, stuff you'd expect. Like, some people just, it's not their fault. Some people just, their English might be their first language, but there's probably still smart and have money and know how to invest. It just, we actually, it wasn't because of that, but it works really well for some of those people, because we have people all around the world now. And so this guy, one of the guys we used it on was, he's from someplace over in Asia somewhere. And we understood what he was saying, but then when you hit rewrite, it actually wrote it in the way that would be, okay, that's just how you would say it. He was writing it in the syntax that he would say it in his own language. And it kind of picked up on that. And it's able to translate it, say, hey, this is how we would say it in perfect English. So things like that was our first one, CodeWriter. And it can make it longer, shorter, check the grammar, all that stuff like that. All that. The next one is which is, this next one's amazing. I can't even believe we finished it. But it's basically able to take documents, because if I was to sell a note to you, it could be a kind of a pain in the butt of me writing all the transfer information, like what's the borrower's name, what was the first recording date, what was the legal description, which can be really long sometimes. If I get that wrong, you might not be able to get it recorded, first off. But if something gets recorded and it's still wrong, a lawyer might be able to see that if you ever went to foreclose, and they might be able to throw out the case totally, saying, hey, this was wrong. They didn't transfer it right. So you got to get it right. It's a very, very important thing. And it was the bottleneck of our industry. Still is for a lot of people. But we have it now where you can just throw your collateral file, the documents at it, and it will extract it and throw it onto the new ones like magically.
Wow.
It's cool with one, but when you're doing 100-note trade, it's magical, because that would take days, like days. And then when you're doing big trades, you're talking like weeks. And it's like, we just took down what's taken people weeks to do, we've cut it down to seconds. And then now we just literally, right now they're working on it, and it's supposed to be out like this week or next. It's called Paper Price Predictor, which is our own note zestimate type thing, where it's basically our estimate for what your note will sell for.
So someone has a note, so they've done some type of seller finance or holdback, right? And they got this note. Why would anybody sell this? So why would anybody sell a note? Like, if you're holding and it's performing, why would you sell it?
It's just like capital velocity. Like, your model might be like, a lot of people do the seller finance play where they find a house where they take it back, they maybe put some work into it, Seller financing is kind of hot right now because the rates are higher. It's harder for people to get funding, and there's always people out there that need a seller finance deal because they're an entrepreneur and they're not bankable. They no matter, there's a lot of people that might be just maybe they don't have a social security number. They can't get that like traditional go down to Bank of America. And there's a lot of tightening on what's underwritten currently. But if you're able to take a leap and say, hey, I'll take this, I'll seller finance to this person. That's great, but you got to remember that in this process, you're putting on your money to like seller, like even buy the house whole to become the bank, right? So, if I'll give an example, there like recently we bought a house in somewhere, whatever, in Florida, and it was for, well, let's just say it was like, what was it? It's been a while now, 150, but then seller financed it for 230 with 20% down. So it was a 210 mortgage. Now you can keep that and you can get a payment. And if you wait 30 years, great, you might make $400,000. But if you want your money back now and you want to just make that spread, you can sell the note and then make $30,000. But that you make it in 3 months. Yeah, you're not going to get the long game, but somebody wants that long game. Someone wants to, hey, I just want to put this in my IRA. I want to ride this thing out for the next 30 years. And I just want the cash flow. You don't want cash flow. You want money now. So that's why people would sell, as they want, there's the velocity of their capital. Look, I got $200,000 to play with. I need to turn this over 5 times in a year. How do I do that? Well, I seller finance these notes, put them on paper stack for sale, sell, boom, I make 20 off that one. Boom, I make 30 off this one. So it's just, that's the kind of the reason someone would sell a note.
Yeah.
That's one way.
Or, your spouse wants a new kitchen, right? And you're sitting on a pile of notes and you're like, man, these things are paying cash flow. That's great. But, maybe I want to new this or new that, or pay off some debt, or, buy an asset, right? So this is interesting because I think, especially as interest rates are going up, your notes are becoming more and more valuable, right? Just because of the competition out there. So for someone who's looking to, maybe become a note buyer, like what are some of the things to maybe consider? I know that Rick's the guy who's like, I've done it a million times, and you've got a few yourself, but like getting started as a note buyer, like what are some things to consider, or some terminology that I need to know? Like what should I know?
I mean, I would say one thing to know is if you're starting out, you probably want to start in performing notes. That's important. That's basically just means that it's already paying. There's, buying something that's not paying and having to go for foreclosure. And there's a lot of gotchas, that you might not see around the corner. How smart is the person in the house? Are they going to fight it? Or, are they going to sign over the deed? Or there's all kinds of variations that could happen. So like, knowing that information, buying a performing note is like going around the base, just getting a base hit. Just do it. I bought my first note and it's nothing spectacular. I think I'm getting a 12% yield. So it's in Pennsylvania. But I wasn't planning. That's it. It's making me $363 a month. Whoop-de freaking do. But it's like I'm not going for the home run. But if I get enough of those, that cash flow will build up over time. So that's what I would look for if I was a new note investor. Look for something that's performing. It's been seasoned, which means they've been paying for a long time or paying for a decent amount of time. And it's, they have some kind of like emotional equity in the house. House doesn't look like a piece of garbage, like they basically, it's not in that neighborhood that's like all surrounded by houses that are boarded up. It's just one of those ones there's nothing spectacular about it. The person lives in the house, they've been paying for years. You're just buying a cash flow stream. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I would look for.
You're buying cash flow, and cash flow is valuable because you could even create a business and then you could borrow money off cash flow. Then you could create opportunity, and the valuation of your portfolio based on your cash flow could be great too. And you could sell the portfolio, but like it's super awesome because, right now I have a bunch of money in the bank, right? And it freaks me out every day because every day through inflation, the value of my cash in the bank is going down. So I'm starting to invest more in businesses, invest more in gold and silver, invest more in, right now I'm kind of nervous about real estate. I'm still in it, but I'm nervous about it. But this could be a good way to be in real estate without having to deal with tenants and toilets, right?
That's why a lot of people do it. I mean, that's when you say like having a lot of money in the bank. Like I I I have basically moved all my money out of the bank. Like I don't have anything. I don't even have like I think I have my kids' IRAs. And that's it.
Mm.
And I basically put everything into I use infinite banking system. I
Hmm.
put everything into there. Everything into there and everything else goes into my line of credit. So I just pay it down and use that to borrow and then to buy assets. And so I'll take out money out of that and then I'll buy something that's cash flowing and I'll use that cash flow with my cash flow that I have left over from the month of getting paid with PaperStack, that compounded with the cash flow from the other assets I pay back the HELOC, and then I go out and do it again. And then, so like I've tried to make myself where if something does go wrong, if it's in the IBC, the infinite bank, you can't touch it really, and then if it's in a HELOC, you can't, come after that. It's the equity in the house. So yeah, the same idea of like making sure the money is working is important, because otherwise if it's in the bank, it's not working. And, it's, I don't know. Yeah, I've been in a lot of different mastermind groups in the last couple of years that's what we all talk about, stuff like that, how to make your cash flow work, your cash work to make you cash flow and
Yeah.
not allow it to sit in the bank. And I kind of got out of stocks too a lot just because I don't feel like a lot of times there's like an underlying asset that I can actually access. And that's one of the things with real estate. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
get that underlying asset.
Or the you could be invested heavily into a business and then they do one bad marketing campaign based on whatever their belief system is, and
Yeah.
boom, you lose all your money. And you're like, that was supposed to be my retirement. Like, yeah, you should be diversified and such like that. But that freaks me out because I have really no control. I
Mm-hmm.
might buy their beer or might buy their whatever, but I have really no control on how that company performs, and my future's tied to that. So it freaks me out.
I could
It
see that.
does.
I mean, yeah, I could see that. That's why, yeah, like for me, it's just like I've looked at land, like I was just telling you, land, different things like that. I do buy one thing that's kind of scary, which is non-secured debt, which is, but it's
Non-recourse, non-secured.
unsecured. Unsecured is off of a site called Prosper. So, but basically, I spread the risk so vastly. It's like, I mean, I basically just focus on the yield on there. Some notes will not pay. Those are unsecured notes. I have no recourse. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I, I use
It's,
Prosper too, so
oh, you
I
do?
bought,
Okay.
yeah. I don't put a lot there. I like things that are a little bit more secure, but the yield is pretty. The yield is pretty good there. But for paper stack, like I could go to paper stack and I could start looking at notes, right? Like give me a range on the value of notes that if I'm a first time note buyer and I'm like, listen, I'm doing this. I know that I don't want to lose my money, but I'm doing this to kind of get started in the world of note buying to get my
Mhm.
feet wet. Like, what kind of range is there in prices?
I mean, it goes all the way from a couple $1,000s, on like small land notes to, we have there's one right now for $4.3 million. It's a house in California that's gorgeous. I mean, we don't people kind of I don't think anybody's gonna buy it. That's just kind of it's just a lot to put your money in. But like, we have a lot of if you come with like $10,000, 10 to 20,000, you can find all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff nationwide. We sell stuff or I think our like the average range is like anywhere from like that 20 to like 70,000, and then we'll have stuff that sells for higher, of course. And then we don't see big trades like that. When we have a lot of big notes that come in, we have certain buyers that we know can take them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
So you ping
I,
up your the guys who are like, hey, I bought thousands of these. And you're like, hey, here's a note. It's on paper stack. Go take a look at it. You should probably take it down, or maybe take it down. Who knows, right?
that's exactly. So we just had I forget how many units, apartment building just come in.
Nice.
And so I have that. And that one's usually more like, hey, let me have you sign an NDA. And then we already have NDAs with all our buyers and say, hey, look, I'm gonna shop this out to our buyers.
Hmm.
But that's like, hey, we're gonna make a private listing and they're gonna, we don't want just anybody bidding on those because some people might just they're we don't want them wasting their time. We just want like somebody like, hey, it's like I'm trying to buy it. And they might be trying to do something like, oh, I'm going to flip this or broker it. It's like, we're going to let the people that we know they have the funds, they have the big like funds, actually
Yeah.
with, they can take it down. So we'll let them look at it and see if they like it. If they do, just let them roll and, trust that everything works out, everything goes as smooth.
Do you have to be an accredited investor to buy notes?
No.
That's good. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. It's weird how it falls into some range. I think it's just because it's such an esoteric investment, and it doesn't really hit a lot of the radars and stuff like that. It's one of those things where for the longest time it was really like a who knows who, like it's kind of an old boys club, like because you got to remember there's a lot of trust. If I'm buying a note from you and I've never met you and I'm supposed to send you $200,000 and you're supposed to send me something that says that you transferred it to me, like a lot of trust, there can actually, that's exactly how PaperStack even became about, was that it was around that where Rick and TJ sent out hundreds of thousands of dollars of friends and family money, and the guy just like disappeared and they were freaking out. Guy went on vacation for like 3 weeks, but he had said he put it in box. Rick and TJ only know Dropbox, and so they're like, you never put it in Dropbox. He's like, I put it in box. What the hell is box? And so box is some other thing.
It's like
that was around.
Dropbox.
Yeah, it was around. I don't know if it's still around. But then they're like, they eventually got stuff and it was all copies. So they had to get all this, and they're like, what a pain in the butt. So they had to, recreate things. They're like, there was just like a system for, where I can keep my money in escrow, and there's an audit, and that was kind of the like inception. It was from that really crappy trade. So that was kind of like the idea of, what happened. And so that's really where it came from, was just that trade itself. And but that's why I think there's not a lot of people before in this space, because you really had to know the people. I mean, actually, so much so that I forgot that we even have we have another product called Note Closings for that. If the deal's on a PaperStack, we have a system, a product underneath PaperStack called Note Closing, which is it's basically like a white label, no name of PaperStack on it, because people are saying the exact what I'm talking about. They will find their buyer that maybe they send out letters to people who have seller finance notes. They find the seller and they're the buyer, and they're like, look, I want to use your software. I want to use the escrow, and I want an audit, and I want, like some checks and balances. I want to make sure I can see the documents that they're signing, but I don't want them to see the word. I don't want them to see PaperStack, because I don't want them to see the marketplace, because I'm buying this thing at 50 cents on the dollar. I don't want to see that they can sell it for like 85, 90 cents on the dollar. I want to buy it at 50 cents, and I want to turn around and sell it for 85 cents. And it's like, oh, okay. So we heard that enough times that we created Note Closings, where it's basically PaperStack's closing process without marketplace. So because people want the technology.
Yeah, so that's super interesting, because you heard from the note buyers and the investors multiple times, enough to where you go, we should have a way that protects their business model, right? So now you're serving them. So you do have your marketplace where people can put their note 80 to 90 cents on the dollar, right? People are going to get a discount because, they want to buy something good. But then you have a way where for the dealers out there, the people who do this as a living, you can handle the details of it for them. That's pretty cool, man. Good job. You listened to the people that you serve, and you created something for them. Nice work.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Like it's funny, like we still even have people that are both buyers and sellers on PaperStack, and they maybe were in Facebook groups, and like it's weird how like that one's getting a full revamp right now. Mostly because it has it's basically like PaperStack without the training wheels. PaperStack's very like follow this to-do list, and like you're just gonna go down the, like it's very like, just go down the process. That one is very much like, all right, well, you're setting up your closing and you're closing at the same time. I mean, so you're basically doing everything, like listing it and closing it and doing everything. And it's flexible. That's the problem. Like people wanted to be able to like, well, I don't want to pay the fees. I want the buyer to pay all the fees, because they're the one who wants this closing thing. It's like, oh, okay. So that we have a way of you can negotiate everything. And so in theory, it's really good because you're able to build whatever type of closing you want. But then what we're finding is that it's so flexible. Some people, they don't know what to do. Like, oh shoot, this is too much. I need some training wheels. Put the bumpers back on. It's like, okay, how do we get a nice balance where they're able to do a lot of the stuff at the same time, and then also too thinking, for the future, we have competitors that want it. They want our like kind of software or something, but they don't want the name PaperStack on it. But they don't want us to take their list. They're running their business through our software. And it's like, well, you just took my whole list. It's like, no. So we have to have this like white label products. So it's getting a new like look. It's kind of getting re-evaluated for more like simplicity, just because there's a lot of moving parts when you're closing, a note, like especially if you're doing all the parts all at once. I mean,
Yeah.
and that we can, with that one, you can invite people to it. You can kind of dictate, are they a guest? Are they a signer? What roles do they have? And so it starts to be, in theory, like you're thinking about, oh, you kind of start developing it, but when you get to the end, you're like, wow, we made something really complex. And so they're kind of scaling it and I've seen what it's doing now, and the way it's being structured, and it's looking, it's really sexy. Like I'll just say, like our head UX UI guy, he came. I mean, he's worked on Facebook's products. He's a pro. I mean, he's
smart.
knows it's very much so. Like when he even redid he just the stuff he puts out. I was like, oh my god, that's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And I'm like, and then I would, my mind doesn't work like that. Like he could just pump out. He pumped out like 10 new logo designs for note closings, like, and just the little things he's doing in it. I'm like, that is so creative, and it's nice to actually have that going inside our system. I mean, so it's there now. So yeah.
So for people out there who are interested in note buying and selling debt, essentially ranging from churches to pot shops to land in houses and even some commercial stuff, where could people go to connect with you, start learning with you, and maybe do a deal with you?
I mean, they just can go to the site, paperstack.com. I mean, on paperstack.com, you can sign up. It's free to sign up, free to browse, it's even free to list as a seller. I mean, we make money at the closing. So when you actually think of it as like the online title company, like it's we're basically helping you through the process, checking out, making sure there's an escrow, making sure the making sure the documents are what they say they are, providing shipping label, doing the doc prep. All of it's done by the code, which is pretty cool. So it's not like we're all, not a lot of things are getting touched. I'm sorry. Only thing not being done by the code is the audit. That's still one of our partners that actually will look through and say, hey, this is what it is, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can, that's that. And I forgot, we even have a full on academy now. So we have like a whole, like Paperstack Academy where you can, it's really cool, Josh. We have this thing now, like that we have the academy. It's a whole bunch of videos, all the calculators, all the discounts from partners, and everything, which conference to attend, glossaries, quizzes, tests. And then this year, you ever had those shower thoughts, like where you're like, like, man, I want, we always, TJ wanted it to have a simulator. He always wanted a simulator. I could never figure out how to do a simulator. And then I saw interactive video, like where it's like, hey, you want this?
Click here.
Exactly. Click here to go
choose your own journey.
Exactly. Choose your own journey. So I started like imagining journeys where it's like the first couple we have out now is like, here's how to use a 10BI calculator. All right. So this is this. Okay. Now here's yours. And then I actually have demo.paperstack where I actually uploaded a bunch of fake data, fake houses. None of it's real nodes, but like, it's real addresses, but like, and basically said, all right, here's one. I want you to make an offer on this one with a 12% yield. And then they using their calculator, they have to go through and then basically said, and then they click forward. Did you get blah, 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 blah number? No. Did you forget to do this, and this? Yes. Okay. If you forgot to do this, did it go? So like kind of walks them through it. Oh, here's a listing. Go look on this one. It looks good on the website, right? Okay. Now what else do you do for due diligence? I don't know. Let's go down our checklist. Oh, let's go drive the neighborhood. And they drive the neighborhood. They start seeing like the houses are all boarded up around them. This one's burnt down. They're like, what do you do? Are you going to move forward or not? I'm going to back out. So if they back out, it just goes to the end. Hey, I'm going to move forward. Okay, moving forward. This is how we're going to adjust our bid. Blah, 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 blah. And then it goes through all these things. And so we're building on all these scenarios. And then we're also, the whole goal is to have like I have like 10 or 15 scenarios. I need to make sure that they are QA'd though, because I had Rick do a whole scenario and I put it live, and he's looking at it and he's like running the numbers, and he looks at the numbers, he's like, bro, this isn't even correct. I was like, what? He's like, your numbers are off. I was like, what the heck? I was like, you didn't catch it? He's like, I'm just reading your scripts. I'm just reading. I'm going through what you tell me to do. Like, I figured you had it right. So we put a whole one, and it takes a long time to do.
Yeah.
I was like, crap. I was like, well, now we
But
know to QA for every single thing that we put out because, yeah, I don't want that to happen again. And so
for
it's,
sure.
but it's cool. So we have a bunch of like bunch of scenarios that are coming out. So hopefully by
Brett,
maybe
this is brilliant.
isn't it cool?
It's
Yeah, I think
it's
it's a
really
lot of fun.
smart. Because
It's
I mean,
fun.
I would teach that if because it's a game.
It is. Yeah.
It's a game, and you can learn how to be a note investor through a game scenario. Don't even
Mhm.
play with real money. Play with fake money. It's like Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. Like
Mm-hmm.
play the game, but learn the skills.
That's exactly what it is. That's what we've launched 3 of the scenarios, and there's probably like another 15 to 20, and then ideally we'll be rolling out 2 different like case studies a month, and so that's part of the stuff that's in there. It's got. I mean, it's funny. We launched it I don't know, over a year or 2 ago, and it's been a decent amount of money. We didn't know we were going to do that much. It sells, just sells. It's based, but it's now I think with this new thing we're doing, I think it's going to be even that much better because it's given me a new fresh breath of excitement for it because it's like wow, there's all these scenarios and it's such a unique thing to do. There's not anybody else out there doing interactive video scenarios off investment strategies, and so I'm like, that'd be really cool. And so yeah, I forget
Is
all the stuff we have going. We have that, the Academy
but where can I find
guides.
that? Where can I find that thing? Is that on the Academy? Where can I find that scenario?
It's academy.paperstack.com. It's behind the paywall. It's in scenarios. So we're gonna put what we're gonna do as well is we're gonna put one of them forward facing. So
Yeah.
that's more like a here's what you get. Here's a scenario you can run through, and once people understand, oh wow, this is pretty cool. Hopefully they'll end up going and joining the academy and going through it. And so it's in there. There's one on I think there's 3 blight, running the calculations, and where'd the house go? Like it's about the house is burnt down, and so little things. And the thing is they're still those are still like in terms of scenarios, those are very easy ones to do. It's like yes or no's, but what we have mapped out is almost like have you ever seen like a funnel builder? Like it's
Yeah.
basically like this, then that, this, that. So we got all that stuff being mapped out where that, once those start to go, it was Rick was right. He's like, Brad, just put out a couple easy ones, get your base hits on it. Then we'll make some badass ones. And so that's that's the goal for, first quarter of 2024.
And I just looked at your website. You guys have a podcast show.
Oh yeah. That's the YouTube channel. So yeah, we have a I forget we're on like 120 something.
Yeah,
120.
dude, you guys have been cranking. Good job, man. Really, really nice work. You and
Yeah,
Rick are
yeah.
cranking it, man. 100 and something episodes. Good job.
Yeah. It's I'll tell you what, I got to give you props, man. I mean, we're in a unique position because a lot of our episodes come from questions that people ask me or
Sure.
support. They come through and people are like, I mean, the one we shot one today won't be out till middle of December, but basically, when the payoff is what is owed on the loan at the end of the loan is higher than the unpaid principal balance. Should I be bidding off the payoff or I should be bidding off what the unpaid principal balance is? And when should is that outperforming or not? I'm like, well, that's a very good question. Let me ask Rick. So and that's usually
Wow.
what happens is a lot of times it's just me sitting there, Rick, this is the question. What do you say? And then he'll go through and sit in the same room and he'll answer the question and we put it out in audio format and video format.
Very cool. Very good. So people could go to Paperstack podcast, so you guys could check it out there, or paperstack.com, and that's PAPERSTAC.com.
Yep.
And you could check out their podcast, their academy, which will run through scenarios, which I'm really excited about that. I think I think you guys are really onto something there because you could have a 101 level. You could have like, hey, teach your kids how to buy and sell debt, right?
Yep.
Let them play with $100 fake money and buy and sell. Man, so cool. I would love that. Keep me updated for that. But this is really cool, and it's really good to connect with you again, man. It's
Mhm.
been way too long. It's been over a year, and I'm really glad to reconnect you. During this interview, was there any other questions that like you're like, hey Josh, make sure you ask me this before we say goodbye?
No, I think you asked a lot of good questions. I forgot, I need to write all these things down. I forget about, we have, because we have got, all the things we've created over these years now, no closings, enterprise, I didn't even speak on that. We're rolling out our enterprise product that's for
For
huge
banks.
transactions, enterprising and indexing product which is, we didn't know how big of a deal this is, but being able to give, like, if I'm doing a big trade, some of the biggest, hardest parts for big sellers and buyers is that they're not very, sometimes this stuff's not organized. It's not like they get like, all this stuff over. It's all like neatly organized. It's just a mess. It's just a bunch of lob of, PDFs and spreadsheets and just blah. And so what we're doing now is basically give us your blah, and we're using AI to basically go, what's the, like, discerning factors that match? Oh, these all have these 50 documents all have the same address on them. This one's, oh, look, this one has valuation on it. This must be the BPO, and then indexing them all. So being able to index everything, and Rick did that from stage in November, earlier this month. And like one of the bankers, I was like, really? He said that? That's funny. He came up to Rick. He's like, that was sexy. And I was like, he said that really? He's like, yeah. And I was like, what else? He said the banker told Rick, what you just are able to do. He's like, that usually takes us like 4 to 5 hours every time we trade, and we hate it. He's like, if you can cut that down to like seconds, he's like, yeah, it's amazing. So that's going in our enterprise product. And then we have some other enterprise features, basically being able to like grab your entire portfolio and throw it into our paper stack price predictor, and understanding what your exact portfolio is worth on the open market. So like a lot of stuff's coming, like it's just, it's definitely
So this
interesting.
isn't just a single family, selling notes. If you're a bank out there or a
Mhm.
portfolio holder and you just want to get an evaluation, just an idea of what it could be worth on a marketplace like this, connect with Brett over at PaperStack. Just say, hey, heard you on Josh's show, and
Mhm.
maybe find a way to do a deal together. Brett, I gotta
Yeah.
go. But man, it's so good to connect with you. Just
Mhm.
hang in there 1 second. We'll say goodbye. But for everybody out there in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests. Say thanks for being on the show. Their contact information will be in the show notes below. And if you have a deal or a marketplace or a platform or some way that you're doing deals uniquely, head on over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, and maybe we'll get you on the show next. Till then, we'll talk to you all on the next episode. Love you guys.